Hey everyone, it's Saturday night. It's time for some content with me and Dio. We've got Stephen Barone back with us. First guest, I believe, that we had. And he has a campaign that got fulfilled for his comic, the Dirty, Filthy, Dirty, and the Dead, right? Is that the right order?
The Dirty, the Filthy, and the Dead, yeah.
Dirty, the Filthy, and the Dead.
Yeah.
And we just wanted to catch up with him, his experience here in this indie corner of the internets, and just in general, we were talking a little bit beforehand, before we started the show, about what his next steps are. But um, we're gonna go ahead and jump. Wait, you know what? I gotta come. Let's try. What it do, y'all? That's my okay. That's my slogan for this week. I have to come up with some sort of. There has to be some sort of intro thing. I don't know. Maybe a video I got to do. But anyways, and also if you see Steven start to look to the side and you hear some sounds, it's probably because there's UFC going on.
I'll try not to.
As there was when he was on before, and I seem to pick him for the nights when the fights are.
Dang, Megan O'Leary's pregnant?
Oh, really?
Yeah, either that or she's bloated, one or the other. I just saw her introducing the next fight. But
well, her husband retired a while ago, so he's got nothing else to do.
He did. Congratulations, or take an antacid. Either one.
But let's actually just to refresh everyone about your comic and what it's done so far.
What it do?
What it do?
Doing a whole lot of nothing right now, but no. Yeah. So my comic is called, like Crenshaw said, "The Dirty, the Filthy, and the Dead." It's a horror comic, a horror comedy comic, a little bit, and it's the first issue was on Kickstarter. It ended at the beginning of March, so it was up for a month on Kickstarter. It did get funded. Luckily, I didn't have too big of a goal to reach. It was my goal was originally, I think it was $900, and we reached about $1,030.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I did get lucky, so I was kind of telling you guys earlier. A couple of things allowed that to happen. The illustrator I'm working with, Miguel, he gave me a little bit of a deal in terms of the cost of the illustration, what I'm paying him, because he believes in the project, and so he wanted to see it happen as well. So that kind of helped cut the cost down and help make the goal a little bit less than what I originally projected it to be. And also we're doing a black and white comic, so I didn't have to hire a colorist, and Miguel's also doing the lettering as well, so that's also another person I didn't have to hire.
Nice.
So it's a small team, myself, Miguel.
And it's his first comic, right?
No, he's done a bunch of stuff. So he's out of Mexico. It's kind of funny. So on top of that, I actually just submitted a proposal for a grant, a comic book grant, at the end of at the end of March it ended. And so I had to get his resume, and he actually has done way more stuff than I had realized.
Oh, yeah.
But his 9 to 5 is actually being an illustrator for a newspaper down there in Mexico City. I can't think of the name. It's a pretty simple name. But he's done that, and he's also won a bunch of like art awards and so forth. And he's doing, I think, I don't know if it's like a comic book, but he's doing some sort of comic thing at the same time right now as well. So yeah, he's done a bunch of stuff, and he's actually, before this, he'd done, I think, 3 other Kickstarter campaigns, or was a part of 3 other Kickstarter campaigns. One of them had been successful, and 2 weren't successful for different reasons. So he, had already been down this road of crowdfunding, so that was helpful. He had a lot of good ideas on stuff.
Yeah.
But it was nice having like a small team, because a lot of people are like, oh, how come black and white instead of color?
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, it was hard just tracking down Miguel as an illustrator, because I had a bunch of bumps in the road in terms of acquiring an illustrator. Since I can't do the art myself, and I think I might have probably spoke about that the last time I was here, and so that I think when initially I started the idea of making the story I had into a comic and contacting illustrators. It was probably like 6-7 months before I nailed down Miguel. And before that, it was probably like 3 people that kind of just fell through for different reasons. And at that point, before Miguel, was just kind of like, oh, am I going to even bother doing this? Because it was just kind of like, it's like going fishing, getting that pull, and like, oh, great, and then starting to reel them in, and then you pull it up, and there's the empty hook, and so I kind of kept on getting that feeling. But he's been good to work with. But in terms of like, getting reaching our goal on Kickstarter, him helping out with, his cost, having a small team, doing black and white. And as a horror comic, I think black and white works pretty well for horror as compared to maybe if it was an action comic, it may not worked as well. I mean, I think color probably would have been the way to go, but I think this is pretty heavy story-wise in terms of character. I guess it's the humor and sort of character development stuff. So it's not exactly like action-packed in terms of like physical action. It's kind of surreal, a lot of surreal moments and surreal like imagery. I think the black and white works, and having the small team, I think, helps. But yeah, like I got lucky in terms of some of the contributions from friends and family. And you guys, thanks again for helping contributing to that. But I think, so like the friends and family helped this time around, and so I know like this next time, in terms of promoting it, I have to do just that much more to get other people more interested in the concept, in the book, in the story. But having the physical copy, like I was saying before we went on air, will help with that. So, I can finally go to like comic book stores, maybe some small conventions and stuff, and at least show like, hey, this is, the first issue, and get it into people's hands, and, send it to YouTube reviewers and stuff, and get some reviews online.
You have any sort of timeline for when you think it's going to get printed and stuff?
Well, on the Kickstarter, I said hopefully like the digital by I think July, and so hopefully like the physical copy is in people's hands by August.
Okay.
Ideally, yeah.
All right. So one of the things I was wondering about was, this being your first comic, and kind of entering into this indie scene, the indie comic scene. What has that experience been like for you with getting your comic out there and getting on streams and stuff? And
it was kind of felt like at times like a part-time job. In a good way some days, and in a bad way other times. It's one of those things where whenever you're doing part of like a creative endeavor, it always felt like I should be doing something, even if there wasn't really anything to do. But even right now, like even though like I'm kind of just waiting on Miguel and pages and stuff, I feel like I should be doing something. But it's there probably are things I could be doing, but it's always like that it's always in the back of your mind or on your mind that I need to be doing more, I need to be doing something. And especially while the campaign was going, I always like had that basically in the front of my mind, like I need to be doing something, I need to be doing more, and that could be kind of a pain in the butt, or add stress, especially like doing a 9-to-5 job. And doing the streams is fun, but that would be kind of stressful, going to work, then coming back to work, and then jump on the computer and like being ready to kind of like sell myself.
What was the was it I forget, was it Kyle Prometheus? No, who was it? There was one of them I was watching, and you were at work.
That was John's. That was John's long box.
He kept looking over like.
Yeah, because that one he couldn't do it the first time we scheduled because he got called in from work. Or he had to work overtime or something, and so we had to reschedule. And I was like getting worried about like the timeline for the comic, and I was like, oh, whenever. And I had to do it when I had conferences, like so I'm a teacher. If people don't know, and so it was like teacher parent conferences, and for the group of students I teach, my parents usually don't show up, And so for me, it's just kind of like a time to like get other stuff done. So yeah, I just scheduled it with John that time. But what sucks is I kept on forgetting that like the lights in my classroom were censored. They kept on shutting off, and so I had to keep on moving to like make sure they didn't shut off, even though. So yeah, that was a little stressful or just kind of like irritating. But so yeah,
How many
like that.
how many streams did you end up going on? Ian?
I think about 10 or 12. There was some where I just jumped in because there were just ones like anyone's allowed to
Yeah.
just jump in. So like I got on like Comic Tropes and did his show, and I did Levi's show with the other guy.
JD.
Yeah, JD and Levi.
Yeah, so I went on there twice because they had like an open show, open mic kind of a thing, and so I jumped on there twice to promote. But yeah, I did John's Long Box. I did Comic Madness, bunch of other ones too. Did Drinks with Brinks. Yeah, so it did a bunch of them. They were all and everyone was great, and everyone was super friendly. And I think the thing I need to definitely going through it next time though, like I was stressing out about like rescheduling and people canceling and stuff, and now that I've gone through it, I need to like realize like no one show is going to make or break the comic, and that was like the kind of thing though, like I kind of thought like, oh no, I need to make this happen. If it doesn't happen, like I'm gonna lose out on this many like possible funds and stuff. But now next time going in, I won't be nearly as stressed out about it because it's just not really that way. I mean, I mean, I did probably get some campaign contributions, but not nearly as many as you'd think. But it's still good to do it.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna ask about that. Like, was there a particular show that was a definite higher number of backers, or was it pretty even across the board?
I'd say even in terms of like zero. But, no, I mean, I did get some contributions, but like if there was like an average number, maybe like one or two, campaign contributions for like the shows. But there was, out of the 10 or 11, I mean, I think maybe 3 or 4 maybe got me some campaign, contributions, but most of them probably, it gets the word out there. They're still out there on YouTube, and as the following books come out, and as I get the first issue out and it gets reviewed and stuff, then people might see those episodes of those shows, the past shows, and so it's at least out there.
I this stream was basically started just so I can hang out and talk to guys. Like, and I feel like a lot of them are, basically that's the, but it's, for whatever reason, like I have no, real, I don't have a book yet or whatever, but I'm always trying to think about ways to get, these indie comics into other people in front of the Gen Pops, eyes, like how does that work? And I know this right here isn't necessarily one of them. But but at the very least, it gets you in front of other guys who are in this corner, and then they circulate, so
Totally.
and we got a good little indie scene where people want to support everyone.
No, I mean before, I mean this is a crazy thing. Before getting on X and doing this comic, which that only happened like in October, this past October, I knew 0 people, and so now I know about a dozen or so, and all doing kind of the same thing. So that helps out, and that's something. And in those shows, the next comic comes out, or issue 2, I can at least go back to those shows, and at least now they know who I am and have a better, it should be a little easier, I think, maybe scheduling or hooking something up, or if I can't go back on those shows, maybe they can hook me up with someone else, or have some other advice.
Have you seen within other comic creators, have you seen other ideas or other there's guys like I don't know, Paul Thayer from Project Aosis, who is he's at cons all the time. Like
Okay.
he's constantly pushing his book at cons, and
Yeah.
he'll set up pop-ups at bookstores and stuff. He's pushing on that. And there's others who they're putting up videos every day. Is there anything that you've seen that you're like, okay, that's something that looks like I can do or and might work for me?
I did want to do a YouTube channel. I was going to do something like not necessarily like comic book related. I was going to do
Mhm.
maybe something about movies, just because I have a bit more knowledge and background with movies.
Yeah.
But my computer like kind of crapped the bed. I didn't have the equipment. I tried doing it and it just turned out bad. So I need to get new equipment. I mean, they say YouTube channel is kind of one way to go.
Mhm.
And that might be something in the future, but it's not happening anytime soon. That's because I found out I also need to get a new furnace in the fall. So,
Oh yeah.
so that needs to happen as well. It's a new furnace, a new computer, and so got
Yeah.
to kind of bills piling up. So,
Yeah,
but
if I hadn't already blown my wad on this iPad a long time ago, there'd be no chance of me doing
oh
this right
yeah,
now. I'll
right.
tell you that.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, there's things like I would maybe do or kind of do, but there's kind of the cost factor I need to consider.
Mm.
Um, I think though one thing I am going to do, like you mentioned that person. Once I get book one out there, I live in an area of Portland where there's a ton of comic book shops, ton of bookstores.
Yeah,
So I'm going to talk to them and try to do, like pop-ups where, I mean, I guess signings, I don't know who really gives a shit about getting a comic book signed by me, but at least like, sitting there with the comic book and,
yeah, well,
pretending I'm someone and, doing in-store kind of meet and greets with the book.
yeah,
And I think
and
that's something that's pretty important too, man. Is as much as everybody talks about X and this and that, uh, getting out and meeting people and actually, as long as you're not like an insufferable fuck,
Yeah.
it's nice to you're not, but there's people out there who are, and I think that really helps to just meet people and just have that one-on-one, just in person, connection, and not to say connection where
Mhm.
you're gonna be friends, but it's just, it's just nice to have that salesmanship. I think with with a customer to actually look at them in the eyes and just
Yeah.
shoot the shit for a little bit, man. That's why I want to start doing conventions. So I think that's going to be awesome for you, man. Is
Yeah.
actually getting out there and and meeting people at these stores and because we talk about X, but I have a feeling a shit ton of people don't even read books on X.
mhm.
I mean,
No.
who does? I mean, like
Yeah,
there's
Mhm.
people out there that I know do, but there's other people out there I think are just and I'm not even talking about people within our circle. Just you'll see like some Marvel stuff get like hundreds of thousands of likes. Nobody's buying those books though. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think it's going to be cool to be in a place where people are there specifically for that thing.
Mhm.
So I think that'll do wonders for you, man. For
Yeah. I
everybody.
mean, people even mentioned too, like if you're gonna do a convention, make sure it's a specifically comic book convention. Otherwise, like you might be kind of wasting your time.
A horror
Um,
one might be good for you.
yeah, I was thinking that too. Unfortunately, like there's one coming up next month too. And it's like, like I don't know like what to do about like.
Just go and pay to get in and just get a card or something, or get like some cheap postcards. Mitchell just got his ass beat, by the way.
Oh, did he? Oh, okay.
Yeah, he got choked
I
the
guess a
F
lot of
out.
people are probably happy about that.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's crazy. I mean, yeah, he's flat on the ground for the flat Earth, but I think maybe getting like a postcard or something made, something cheap where it'll be, pennies on the dollar, just to pass out with the title of the book, and maybe like I'm so technologically illiterate, but like what are those the things people scan with their
QR
phones?
code, yeah.
Yeah, the QR code or something, that might be a good idea. And that way you're just passing that out. And granted, you know how it is, you get shit handed to you and you throw it away later. But if you're paying, there's going to be one or two people, just like with anything else, that might pick that up and love what the hell it is, and then start telling their horror friends. So, and it'll
Yeah.
save you money here. You're not buying a booth. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. No, and I actually did that a little bit. We had like Fan Expo here in February, and then I did it, I think, at Rose City Comic Con. But the Rose City Comic Con was like a bust because I didn't do a QR code. I just put like my X thing on there, and like Miguel's like DeviantArt stuff. But no one's gonna go type in. And, it's funny too. Like guy like the LCS I go to, he's like, "Oh, you should have done a QR code." And I was like, "It was like, yeah, I already got 100 of these. It's like a little bit too late." But that was a buzz. But I did have a QR code on like the bookmarks for the Fan Expo. But that wasn't like a purely comic book thing. That was kind of like a kind of fan everything, like anime, TV, and stuff. I don't know if anything really came about that. I must have handed out about 50 there, but. Yeah, but I mean, I think it might be a good just to do that again though for this horror one coming up.
It's a numbers game, you know what I mean? From what people say, and I'm not saying that from a from a place of like, like that I know, but I mean, it's something I want to do is start hitting that numbers game.
Yeah,
where it's like you're gonna pass out a bunch of shit, but it doesn't hurt, So I'm trying to talk to Jewel to go. There's some convention called the AVN I'm trying to go to, in Vegas. Yeah, you know what it is. Don't be smiling like you don't know.
Wait a minute.
That's awesome.
Have you ever done a convention yet for your book?
Not for my book, but I've done conventions. I've actually sat at my buddy's table one time. He's like he was doing drawings and stuff. And he's like, he was booked up. He's like, well, my buddy can draw. And they're like, who the hell's this guy? But I was doing like drawings and shit for people, and I had a blast. I've been to a bunch of conventions back in the day, and I just love the energy of it. At least how it used to be. Mm-hmm. About 10 or 15 years ago, it started getting like very Hollywood, which is something I don't appreciate about it. Like sort of the comic book aspect is lost. Where it's just more about the movies, and I really couldn't give a rat's ass about any of that stuff. I just love the comic book aspect of it. So hopefully the ones I do hit in the future will be smaller ones, medium ones, mm-hmm. that focus more on the comic aspect, because you go to those big ones within the past like 10 or 15 years, it's all trying to replicate the SDCC, the San Diego Comic-Con, where mm-hmm. it just seems like people are there for the movie stuff. Those people don't give a fuck, pardon my French, about comics, dude. All they care about is who's getting cast for the next Marvel movie. And it's like I used to love those flicks, dude. I just don't care about any of that shit. I just love the tactile feeling of picking up a book and reading the OG stuff. I used to do conventions, but I definitely want to do a convention with a booth, with my stuff, with a banner, and do it the right way, and just sit my ass down and try to meet people,
Yeah.
But now you're over Portland area, right?
Yeah, right.
So there's, I imagine you being, it being Portland, and you being a local guy, there'd be plenty of like bookstores and places that would be, excited to support the local guy, to do that. Do you think that would be the case with, Portland being the way it is?
I hope so. Like it does seem like, I've been to like a bunch of shops. I don't have I was going to one pretty regularly. I was kind of friendly with the guy. I just haven't gone lately, just because price wise, I'm not really, it's maybe a year ago I was buying books fairly weekly, or at least once a week, buying at least one book. But just because of the prices and stuff, I've been buying less, and so I haven't been going there as much lately. And when I do pop in once in a while, he doesn't seem like, it seems kind of like, oh, I ain't in here more often. But there is kind of this sort of like half and half attitude where it's like, if they don't know you that well, then that kind of like, I guess, old school comic book way, get away from us.
But branching out into, I'm sure there are, record stores.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm sure there's still probably, head shops, whatever else.
Oh, there is. There. Yeah, no, there's a bunch. So I mean, really, it's really just up to me not being lazy and just going into the places and just connecting with people. Yeah, but there's definitely plenty of opportunities. I mean, even a good friend of mine owns a sort of bookstore slash record shop where I could possibly do that.
Yeah.
And there's a bookstore just down the street. There's I'm in walking distance from what is it? Things from Another World comic shop, but I think that's a little bit more corporate. I don't know if they're kind of got a connection with Dark Horse, but
Your mic seems to be
oh,
fading or something.
can you hear me?
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's
Okay.
better.
So I might have pulled away a little too far back to being a little too comfortable.
It was just getting quieter and quieter.
Oh, okay. But yeah, no, there's a good amount of comic book shops around.
Yeah.
So and even independent bookstores.
Well, next year when you have physical copies and stuff, you might have to make your way, excuse me, make your way over here to Boise and hit up our little comic convention here.
Yeah. So are you in Boise?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. I wasn't sure where in Idaho you were.
Yeah. I'm in the big city.
Yeah. No, I've been wanting to check. I've been in Portland for like 20 plus years, and I still haven't made it over to Idaho. So I mean, I need to. It's been a long time coming.
Boise is a nice town. It's nice. It's pretty. It's got small town feels. Although I will say this, I was what was it sometime this past week, maybe last weekend. I'm driving down the freeway with my wife, and there's a mattress on the freeway, just leaning up against the side. Never happened. That's not a. And then I
see that every day.
but that opened my eyes to start looking. Trash, all up and down the freeway, and I'm thinking, this is not something you would have seen just a few years ago here. Not at all. And it's because of all the like Californians and whoever else that moved in since the housing market here blew up and all the work was happening, and people are fleeing from wherever they're at, and it's like, man, this sucks.
No, it's funny. I mean, even Portland was like, when I moved here, wasn't the way it is today. I mean, even where my wife's family is, they're up in Washington, and they're in a small coastal town called Ocean Shores. Mm-hmm. But the biggest town next to it's Aberdeen, Washington. That's where like Kurt Cobain's from. Mm-hmm. But so you can see now, like, basically transients and homeless people now in Ocean Shores, Washington, where it used to be just a bunch of old people going to retire. But what happens is, like, they'll pick up or drop off people who should, who they arrest or take into the facilities, and then once they're done, they just drop them off downtown Aberdeen, and then they find their way up to Ocean Shores. And that used to not happen, though, because then they would just be put in the facility and stay there until however long they needed to stay there. But now they just, because I mean, Aberdeen's always been a bad, kind of crappy place. Mm-hmm. But I mean, now, you drive through it and it looks like, the apocalypse. I mean, it's all abandoned buildings and, burnt out places and people. I mean, it's pretty gnarly.
Yeah. I mean, it's still pretty good here. I mean, I just saw a TikTok today of some guy like, I left my garage door open all night, but I'm in Idaho, so it's okay. I'm like, whoever. I'm glad you like it here, but you could also go back to wherever you are. But yeah, we got. I think it's next month is our little Comic-Con. But this year I looked at what's going on here, and it's B-level movie stars, but they're actually better than they have been in years. So we might be growing. We might be getting some movement here,
Yeah, nice. I gotta ask you. You're in Idaho, so I don't know where it is in Boise, but are you near like the Chris Reeves Sebenza factory?
I don't know what's that.
Oh, okay. It's a knife manufacturer. It's a very famous like knife manufacturer. Chris Reeve. They're like the Mercedes of like folding knives, but they're made in Idaho. Very expensive. They're like $700 a pop.
No, I didn't know that. I will tell you this: my work partner's son, wanted to get into making knives when he was 13, 14 years old. They watched one of those shows about the forgery contests, or And he's like, I want to start making knives. And his dad was like, no, that's not where you make the money. Practical tools, axes, sledgehammers. So this kid started making sledgehammers and axes. Kid's making like 80,000 a year now. He just turned
Oh wow.
19.
Oh, nice.
He's selling to various hot shots fire crews, the handmade
Okay.
axes.
Oh, all right.
His steel is like super amazing, and
That's
he
awesome.
just had a deal with the what was it? Maybe it's the Air Force, but for them to carry his axes so that if they ever crash their jet or plane somewhere, they have a really nice axe so they can cut down trees and whatever. So like,
That's
I hear
nice.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
Good for
it's
him.
crazy, and I hear that kind of story, and I'm like, who has that kind of drive?
At that age, especially.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That's awesome.
But yeah, so that was just a off rant of wherever, but still.
No,
Too busy rubbing them out. Age.
yeah. Huh.
Yeah, that was my problem at that age.
Huh.
Flying blind in
um,
one eye.
so with your comic, and actually, I also want to mention your artist is from Mexico City as well.
Yeah, I believe he's in Mexico City, but he's down in Mexico.
Yeah.
I think he's definitely he went to school in Mexico City, and he definitely has done some work there. But he's
Yeah.
down in Mexico.
There's a couple of guys that are in Mexico City that are on X, and I at some point I feel like I need to reach out to them because my story that I'm writing is set in Mexico City, and I want to,
Okay.
like,
Yeah,
is it authentic enough? Is this not? Are you guys going to be offended? But
yeah. You could probably ask Miguel. I'm sure he'd I'll probably answer you. He's a pretty easygoing guy.
but yeah, I was just those are the questions I had about the your experience so far is just
Yeah,
how did it go, and I know um, when you get to actually printing and getting the book out there, you'll have even more experience to grow on and stuff. But I
yeah.
was just really interested in how this sort of thing was for
Yeah.
you.
I mean, I'll tell you one thing I tried, and I mean, maybe I'll try it again. I don't know. It didn't really work out this time, but I took out, just because I got a little bit of a deal of it, took out like a screen ad at the local theater.
Mhm.
Oh, that's
There's
cool.
yeah, it's not, it normally would have been, they maybe in the day, like a second run movie theater, or what
Yeah.
normally would have been a second run, but it's actually a first run theater, but it's I want to say it's local because it's like locally owned, and like the concessions and the tickets are super cheap compared to like the other theaters
Yeah.
around the city. And so I was actually there watching a movie, and it's like, oh, want to show your stuff? You call blah blah blah. And so I emailed the guy. And I was like, hey, I got this thing, but I only need it for a month because I guess I was looking at their advertisements like, oh, for 2 months or longer, and this is how
Yeah.
much you have to pay. And I was like, I only need it for a month. Can I pay this much for a month? And he was like, okay. So I did it. And he told me like how big to make the image and stuff like that. And so it did go up there. I checked it out as soon as it went up there. But there's like a few issues with it. Like one time I went, because we go to it pretty often just because the tickets are cheap. So
Yeah.
sometimes I'll see a movie even if like I'm not super thrilled about seeing it, just because it's something to do. It's cheap tickets. So one time I went, it wasn't even playing. Another time, like my son and wife went to see a movie. They took a picture and showed me like most of the advertisement was missing from the screen. Like the QR code was like cut in half. And so like, I told the guys like, hey, this is going on. And I don't know. And so it was one of those things like, I don't think it really worked. Pretty sure it didn't work out because I don't think I got anything from it. But it was one of those things where it's like, it seemed like a good idea, but also it's because of like how they ran things, like
Yeah.
who knows like how often people actually saw what it really was. Plus, like I think a pretty crappy job of the image I gave them. I was kind of worried about it having too many words because I wasn't sure how long it would stay up there. Would people have enough time to read? And so I kind of just put an image of like the comic book, like Kickstarter, the QR codes and stuff. But I probably should have added a bit more information to it. So I think, that was probably a mistake on my part. But I tried that, but I don't think it was too successful.
I mean,
it was cool. It was cool just seeing my thing up there though on the screen for a second. Like, oh.
I mean, it's not a bad idea. It's kind of I feel like if I were, I mean, of course, I'm interested in comics in the first place, but if I was, I've been in the theaters before, and you see like the local things that are like glass cleaning or whatever, like something that's tied more directly to what I'm there for, which is entertainment, might catch my attention.
Right. Yeah. And at the time the Captain America movie was out, there was a couple of horror movies out, the companion movie and Hard Eyes. And so I was like, all right, maybe these will, be ones. But like I said, like I actually went to go see the companion movie. And it wasn't even like showing my ad, it was just showing like one for AA meetings. It was just like, I mean, I probably could have gone and said something, but I was just like, whatever. Probably the 3 other people in the theater don't really probably give a crap about a comic book anyways. But it was just stuff like that. It was, I don't know, learning experience.
Yeah, one of the things I've been thinking about lately, gospel tracts. They're the little booklets.
The ones like that. Are you gonna burn in hell? Like comic books? Yeah. I haven't seen those in years.
Yeah, I know. But like that concept. I mean, granted, the whoever made those probably they weren't hoping to make money off of them. They were made to kind of go. But would something like that be a possibility for and maybe not just for one guy, but let's say 2 or 3 comic creators team up and they put however many pages in each little tract and just throw them around town, to get people interested in, and in particular, laundromats, barbershops, the places where people are just kind of waiting around,
Funny with those, like my friends always got those like back in the 90s, and I don't know where they ever got theirs. Like I don't know if people handed those out to them, or I don't know how you ever came across them.
Yeah, we got John's long boxes in the chat. Hey John,
what's up, John?
I mean, I grew up in a Christian household and stuff, and they were kind of around just there, in life.
God sent them.
Yeah. But even at that, you go to, a few years ago, I had, my washer and dryer or washer crap out, and I had to go to the laundromat with my kids, and we'd load up everything, and they were there,
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's true. You're right. Yeah. Well, I did, like I said, I handed out some like bookmarks at a couple of conventions, but I also put out a bunch of bookmarks at comic book shops and stuff in bookstores, because there's, a bunch of them would already have like free stuff to take. But, so some of them, I would do that and I'd see like a table or counter with already like a billion things of like stickers and bookmarks and this and that. So, I think in that regard, I think probably a lot of mine just kind of got lost in the shuffle with all the rest of it. But I'm sure some of them got picked up, here and there. But
we got a fashion question. Hey, Crunchwrap, I sent a Patriarchy shirt. Would you do a few superhero poses? I was actually talking to my wife about that today. We were joking about because she's not interested in comic stuff at all. But I asked her if we could go down to the Salt Lake FanX this year or whatever, and she's like, her first thought was, "Don't you dress up? Isn't that like a thing? Everyone dresses up." And, so we were trying to decide what to dress up as, and my suggestion was the patriarch. But You know what, John? Sure. Yeah, sure. I gotta start working out again, but yeah, well, we could do that. I still gotta trim this thing. I got my hair cut today, so my head is shaped not unlike Zippy the Pinhead, but it's mostly just because of the beard. So,
Yeah,
but
that's something else I need besides a furnace is a haircut as well.
yeah, I was getting shaggy and I finally got a paycheck and was able to.
Right, that's kind of what I'm waiting for too. Except mine's not coming for like another, I don't know, 2 weeks. So,
Well, mine was just my regular paycheck. I've talked to Dio about my. I did a big job, and the builder has not given us our final draw yet, and he just the other day claimed that he's also not getting paid.
uh,
He's like, oh, you know what? I'm not also not getting paid either.
Yeah,
So, that's why it's like, well, then why do you continue to tell us, oh, yeah, it's coming this week. Oh, yeah, it's coming
exactly.
this week. It's like, bro, like maybe this will lead right into me complaining about my coworker.
yeah, yeah,
Patty
yeah,
Cake.
yeah. I need to hear about this individual, this
I,
gem.
yeah, my wife was like, oh no, what if he watches? Yeah, like that's not gonna happen.
Maybe he'll learn something.
He's a nice enough guy, right? He's a nice guy.
Um,
So I should have made a little picture for this, just me complaining about something. But like I said on X, I'm extremely introverted, like
uh,
extremely. My children and I, uh, we would go. We live here in the West, and sometimes you can just drive for a couple hours to get to wherever you're going. Right?
mhm,
It's wide open out here,
yeah.
and we would go on a big drive, wherever, and almost no talking. We would put on music, we would all sing along, but no talking for the entire 2 hour drive. I can spend, if not for other humans, I could spend days and not say a word, and it does not bother me. Um, this guy cannot. And I'm not kidding. 7 minutes is just hop without him talking, and he will come even to the point where he will come. We're working in a house. It's 2,000 square foot. I'm on the north end of the house. He's on the south end. He will walk all the way across the house to come and tell me something he doesn't need to tell me. He's been doing drywall for 30 plus years. You
Uh,
don't need to come and show me a thing and ask me what you should do about it. You should know this. Yeah.
sounds like my coworker. They might be brother and sister.
But and it's not just that he talks, it's that he makes terrible jokes. He's not funny in any way, shape, or form. And they're the same jokes, not just every day, 5 or 6 times a day.
Oh, right.
How old's this guy?
He's kind of waiting for that laugh to come.
Yeah, he's mid 50s, 56, 57.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I thought he was a younger guy.
No. And at one point he was telling me that his his therapist told him he's an unusual person because as a man he shouldn't talk as much as he does.
Yeah,
He
that's
talked even too much for the
strange.
therapist. Oh no.
But I'll be what's that?
Did you tell him that his therapist was right?
Yeah.
No. But here's the other problem. I'm not I'm very patient for the most part. Like I'm very patient, and I'll he's the ball buster kind of guy. He'll make jokes like he'll spend an entire day calling me ma'am or whatever, and I just kind of like, okay, haha, that's fine, whatever. I'm self-deprecating as well, so if he says something about my pants or whatever, I'm like, yeah, these aren't even the worst ones I got, whatever. Um, the problem is he comes to my side of the job to check on my shit, to check my work, and it drives me crazy. That's not something you do.
Right.
Like, you don't come over specifically to start checking someone's work and then pointing out what you think they've done wrong. And
It's
it's
like
that
on
kind.
Twitter.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just great. My partner, the other guy I work with, he actually called me Thursday after work, and he's like, "Hey, dude, are you okay?" Like, what do you mean? He's like, "You just seem really quiet and down." And I had to explain to him, I'm drained. Like, it's
Yeah.
sucking the life out of me. Like 100%. Like, I can't. Like, it's you go to if you're I don't know if you how what you guys are, if you're introvert or whatever, but you go to a get together. I can last half an hour, and then I can feel like my body just starting to shut down.
Mm.
you know like but I got it's like a full 8-hour day with that.
That's
you
crazy.
know I'm drained half an hour into the day, and the rest of the day is just me just you know surviving, basically. It's been a week for me, particularly this week.
How long have you been working with this guy?
I think it's about 2 years now.
Oh,
Two.
okay. Shoot.
The first year or so wasn't bad,
Yeah.
but he's gotten super comfortable.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And it's just yeah, it's tough for me. It really is.
Yeah. No. Is he single? Is he like live alone?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's a big part of it.
That's it. I think
You're his partner in life.
I also think COVID really effed some people up too.
Mhm.
It turned people into like puppies in a sense where like they were like kept away from people for so long that they don't have those social norms anymore. That when they see somebody, they just get excited that the tail's wagging and they're nibbling all the time, and it's just like I think that really screwed some people up, man.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's right. I mean, tell this dude to shut up, but but I think I mean, it's also like like Steven was saying, for him to be in his mid to late 50s, he must have had, if he acted like this growing up, he must have gotten messed with a lot, because that's
Yeah.
just, it's not a very I know it's not a 2025 thing to say, but it's not a very man thing to do, to talk that much. That's insane, bro.
Yeah.
That's
It's a
like
bit
a feelings
unusual.
thing for like the 2020s. It's like, shut up, bro. Just be in your
It's
head and hate yourself like the rest of us, man.
yeah.
Uh,
It's a very very much a self, like, he needs validation, where to the point where he will, um if so, I said he'll come in and he'll start pointing out things that I've done wrong. If I not even pointing out something he's done wrong, I'm walking through the job, and I'll say, "Oh, look, we missed a thing over there. We're both involved in this. We
mm.
both missed. Look, we missed a thing over there." He will get physically uncomfortable and start explaining. "Oh, I'm sorry. I should have got that when I was over. I should have done this." It's just like, I'm not saying that, dude. Like, it's not. It's just it's here. It's one of the reasons I don't own a dog, is I don't want that level of I need you. My kids
I understand that.
have enough of that for me. I don't need a full grown man doing that. It's yeah.
That's why we own a cat.
Yeah. and
Well, I
and
understand you're not a cat guy though either, right?
um I'm not an animal guy per se.
Yeah.
I
Which I
I
appreciate you saying that, because it seems like to be against the law to say that these days.
To say what?
if I'm like, I'll go, I do a lot of jobs where remodels and stuff. I go into someone's house, they're living there, their dog comes up, I'll pet the dog. I'm actually really really good with dogs, and cats. The animals and little kids love me. And I'm okay with them, to the point where it's just like, okay, now I can leave though. I don't want them
Yeah.
here.
Mhm.
You know?
The animals, right?
Yeah.
Not their
Yeah,
little
yeah.
kids.
Yeah. But yeah, I had a dog for a bit, and my when my oldest daughter moved out, she took him, and when it it wasn't super enjoyable for me.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I could probably I can understand that.
I mean,
Grow-
there are times where it's nice to pet the dog, and he's cute and stuff, but then after a while, he comes and sits next to you in that hot breath. Oh God, it's so gross. It's just,
I grew up with dogs, and there's just a lot of stress around them in terms of just my growing up with them. So it was never like a fun thing having dogs, at least in my life growing up. So why I just don't have them. It was just always chaos involved. But that was also my wacky family too. So
I also feel like I would have had the farmer mentality of, oh, my dog's sick. I'm not going to pay $10,000 for
oh
him
yeah,
here. You know,
no. And I
uh,
mean, but now people don't think anything about that. They just do it, and it's just like,
yeah.
yeesh. I mean, I kind of almost appreciate the old times of like taking them out back.
We're still talking about dogs.
Yeah,
I've been talking about kids for
yeah,
for
some of them.
It's awesome. Hot breath.
oh yeah. But so
But
what
no,
do we got?
I can understand though, like your issue with that. I mean, because I'm dealing with a similar thing, except like with like the nonsense I got to deal with. It's like you can't even like confront a person or anything because
HR.
working in a school. I mean, like
Mm-hmm.
the individual that's my uh, equivalent of your individual. It's like I blew up like at them at the beginning of the year. So we had to go into the principal's office. We had to talk it out. Da da da.
Ugh.
And it's just like and this person's just been a complete like waste of space all year long, and it's like this weekend I actually have to write up some stuff about them because they had an incident with another teacher and got kicked out of their class, and it's just like, this is an adult, and I have to write
Mm-hmm.
some stuff about talking about how useless and like what a waste of space they are. But they shouldn't have never even been hired for the job. I mean, had they worked at any job I had as a teenager or in college, they would have been fired. Yet
Yeah.
here they have put in all these years at this place, and it's kind of like a disgrace to like the institution that they've like put in this much time. But I mean, like I am pro union, but this past year I can understand why individuals may not like unions so much. I'll say that much.
I'll tell you another problem is that he is hard of hearing,
Oh,
and
okay.
and
What?
and, and I can mumble.
Oh yeah, I'm a soft talker myself.
Yeah, and so there are times where I will say something. We'll be hanging sheetrock, measurements are involved, and I will give him what I think are clear, precise measurements, and then he'll come up with something cut wrong. He'll blame me 100% of the time. Never is it his fault. 100% of the time, it's my fault. But like, I mean, I came that close to blowing up on him about 2 weeks ago, and yeah, and that's not me. I've never blown up on anyone.
This is quite literally hell for you. You got somebody not only talks nonstop, but then forces you to repeat yourself and talk more than you need to.
Yeah,
That sucks, man.
yeah,
Crazy.
and it's like this is fine. Like I talking about just chilling, talking about it, but it's fucking work. I don't.
Yeah.
And I mean, he talks about work like he enjoys it.
Yeah, it's funny. Not currently at the place I'm at now, but like at the last place where I was teaching, I worked with like 7, 8 women. It was just me, and not to say, love women, 7, 8 women, but these are, I didn't have a whole lot in common with them. And I was, a few years younger, and they were all the same age. They were like in their mid 50s at the time. And all they would do was talking about something that happened like just 10 minutes ago. And they'd talk about it like on and on. It's just like, that just happened. We were all right there. What are we talking about? Like, how can you just keep talking on and on about it? Like, we all just saw it. Like, go on and on and on about it. And it's just like, oh my God, like we're still here in the same spot where it just happened. Just drive me nuts. It's like, can we just change the freaking subject?
100%.
Like, oh my
100%. That's my everyday. Every day.
It's just like, we're stuck here for another 8 hours. Please, let's talk about something else.
You're just hoping something else happens so they can talk about
yeah,
that for the next day.
oh yeah. But I'll just keep hearing about that, and then then it's funny. Like as the year goes on and on, you'll hear about that thing from September, and it just follows you on. Then they'll talk about people from like 3 years ago. It's like, oh my God, let it go.
Are either of you guys particularly nostalgic in general, in life with like, like I have, him, my partner, my wife are all people who will reminisce about things that have happened in their life.
No.
Yeah. It's funny because like I've said, I mean, I teach, and so coworkers will be talking about like students from the past, and be like, "Oh, don't you miss them?" Like, no, like they're gone, they're gone, they're out of my life. Like, I don't spend 2 seconds thinking about them, like, because like I'm too busy concentrating on the ones like right in front of me. And so it's like, no, I don't like, like it was great while they're here, but it's like I got too much stress about thinking about these ones right here. I don't reminisce or get nostalgic about like past students. Not that like I hope they're doing well or anything like that, but it's like, I was just saying, like, some of like the other individuals I work with, they're like, oh, remember this? Like, oh, I don't care. Not that, I hope, like I said, I hope they're doing well, but like I don't have time to think about like this person from 5 years ago. You know what I mean? It's just like I got too much on my plate to worry about right now. Like I can't. I'm not gonna, plus that person for 5 years ago was a pain in my ass back then. So why am I gonna think about them?
I know you moved from back east, but where, like in your life, did you move often?
Yeah, for a couple. Well, so I lived in Rhode Island, and I moved maybe several times within Rhode Island. It's because like when my parents got divorced, we moved around the state with my mom a few times here and there. So, there was lived in different parts of Providence, which is the capital, and then mostly spent most of my time in Cranston. So even though like I lived in different parts, my mom kept me in the same school district. So she'd drive us further than she needed to because she just wanted us to stay in the same school, which was nice. Then once I graduated from college, though, like I went to the Mid-Atlantic and did a couple of years of AmeriCorps. And so that's when I moved around because the program itself made me move around the East Coast. And so for 2 years, I moved around the East Coast, kind of like all different cities and states, just working, doing different like projects with the program. And then after that, I moved out here to Portland.
Because I know like Dio moved quite a few times, right?
I did, yeah. Jersey to Florida, Florida to Baltimore, Baltimore to Arizona, Arizona to Baltimore, Baltimore to Jersey, Jersey to Sarasota, and then Sarasota to Gainesville, Florida. So yeah.
I'm wondering if that has to do with the three of us not being particularly nostalgic about things that happened in the past. Because growing up, I moved a lot, and you gotta forget about those friends because you gotta get to the new school or whatever, new whatever. There's a constant restarting, and I don't, my wife has lived here her whole life, in this area. So I'm wondering if maybe there's something to do with that. Same with the other two guys, the two guys I work with. They both lived here forever. Is it are they driving around just being constantly bombarded with memories of streets that, this happened and that happened? Meanwhile, I have no connection.
I think it's because we're all part sociopath, but looking at YouTube, like, I think that's what it is.
That's a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, because like currently where I'm teaching now, there's some teachers that like went to, so I'm in a high school and there's teachers that went to high school there, and then teaching there for 20, I mean, so like their whole lives have been spent in that high school. And I mean, I can see there being like definitely a positive thing to that. I mean, you kind of set up a community to it, but I mean, I think for me though, like with nostalgia, it's just kind of like I remember every single bad thing that's happened to me. I mean, I remember everything, but I mean, I think I'm always thinking of kind of like the next thing though, so I'm always
exactly.
So it's like I'm thinking the comic book, and so now I'm thinking about like issue 2. I'm thinking about the next thing I want to write. I'm kind of always thinking about like the next project or this or that. So I'm kind of I've always been kind of like future focused, I guess.
That's how I feel, man. I just take every day for what it is. You know what I mean? I don't really live in the past. I don't have like nothing's ruining my childhood, as some of these people say. And just yeah. And the bad shit, of course. It's like my mother always used to say, you never remember the good things, you only remember the bad things. Good, Irish woman, Irish saying. But yeah, I'm with you, man. It's just give me what's next. I don't want to live in the past, and I'm not getting any younger, so
right. That's what I think too, right? Yeah, age wise. So it's like I feel like I need to like push more or do more. Granted, I mean, I thought of that like in my 20s and 30s, but I just especially my 20s, I just probably needed more, I don't know, focus or just better. I don't know. I tried doing things, but I just didn't know the ways to do it, I guess, or the correct ways of doing things. So that, but
I feel yeah.
It was that thing Dio was saying earlier, too much winking.
Yeah, I mean that's in your 20s, all that testosterone, dude. Jeez, if I wasn't fighting, I was doing something else. So
yeah, I think about like high school and college. I spent too many weekends just like well, especially when when I was underage. I mean, I remember just going to one particular friend's house every Saturday and we're like, all right, how are we going to score booze? And then after we score the booze, like how then are we going to get the chicks? And it was just like that. Like, so many weekends after weekends. I look back, if I'm nostalgic of anything, it's just like looking back at that. It's like, God, that was a lot of wasted time. It's just like, oh my God.
Oh, yeah, insane, dude. Yeah, if you could go back and actually put that time to good use, but then and you wouldn't be the person you were though if you did that shit though. You know what I mean? Which could be a good thing or a bad thing.
Right, yeah. Excuse me.
Yeah, my problem is I don't even look to the future. I tell people I'm if it's not 5 feet or 5 minutes in front of me, it's not in my brain. Like I'm 100% in this moment, which is for the most part not a great way to I mean in some ways it is because I'm not stressed, but every once in a while I think maybe I should be, because this is a big deal that's happening in my life and I need to pay attention to it.
No, I mean, they say, more people need to be living in the moment. You need to be paying attention to what's happening to you right now. So, I mean, you might have the secret.
Yeah, I think though that's why a lot of like marriages and stuff are made up of one who stresses over everything and the other one who doesn't stress about anything. Because
yeah,
I know my wife. I help mellow her out when she's like on everything is on the edge. Just and she kind of helps me grow up a little bit. So. But all right, well, I mean, we're at our hour point. I mean, besides complaining about my coworker, like I said, I had nothing else really planned. I didn't have the questions or didn't get the music things put together, but I did want to.
Oh, sorry. Go on, bud.
Oh, go ahead.
I did want. This was a Dio. I think it was the first stream you guys did. You mentioned that you were in a band with, was it one of the members or former members of X?
Of X?
Yeah, is that what you said?
No,
Right.
no, no.
Oh,
No,
okay.
that'd have been crazy.
Okay, I must have misheard.
No. Yeah, I was in a band with I don't know if you know who PTP is. That's who he
PTP.
goes by. I know is Pat Patrick Parnell. He's on Instagram. He's got like he does what Johnny Phantasm. He's got like some Legend of the Seekers, I think it's called. It's like a robot comic, and he does like toys and stuff. He's also been pretty controversial in the whole
Okay.
comic sphere. Him and I guess EVS have gone at it.
Oh, okay.
But I was in a band with him. I met him at the Kubert School 24 years ago.
Oh,
We both played in bands prior to that in Florida, and then we would just play guitar. He'd play guitar, and I'd sing and shit. We played some, which I think with the last show we played was with Strung Out
oh,
uh,
okay.
Oh, nice.
in St. Pete at the State Theater. But no, not with X. That'd have been crazy.
What was the band called that you guys were in together?
The one we were in was called the Dirty Hearts Club, just punk. We had there's some demo somewhere. One of us has it. I want to find it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was fun, just fast blast beat shit. Yeah, and I sing like a girl, which is funny. People are like, "Oh, that guy's voice is high." But yeah, it was fun, man. It was a good time. But yeah, not with X. That'd have been nuts.
Yeah,
Still good though.
the Refused and Quicksand show was just a few days ago. Remember,
Did
I
you
told
go?
you? No, I thought it was later on in the month. B, my brother called me up the same day. He's like, "Hey, remember that show?" I'm like, I thought he was gonna be like, "Are you going?" And he's like, "So I'm going with my buddy." I'm like,
Oh,
I was kind of excited to go.
that's a bummer, dude. Yeah, Quicksand's a shit, dude. Such a great band.
He sent me a picture later and just the word "awesome" underneath. So.
Oh.
But yeah, the only other thing I had planned tonight was, well, actually two things. I put this up real quick. I saw this today. It says top 10 AI use in 2025. The top three are therapy, companionship, organizing my life, and finding purpose.
Wow. What a
That's
waste.
very
Yeah.
sad. So I had that in my back pocket in case there was nothing else happening.
I'm using AI tonight, man.
Oh, you gonna find some purpose?
No, I was gonna find a companion. No, I'm actually using it to just do a quick Photoshop thing that I don't want Jewel and I to do. And
Yeah.
it's it's my logo, but I'm just asking it to add flames to it. Just because why not? People complain about AI, this and that, but I think it's a tool. If I can do it to save us time, that we can spend with the kids or each other, it's like, fuck, why not?
Yeah.
It's not drawing anything. It's taking a logo that we made and just adding flames or something to it. So, yeah, man, it's I think AI is fun. I think people are a little too harsh on it, dude. That whole thing where it's like, well, you could be paying somebody. Well, I don't got the fucking money, dude. You know what I mean? Go find a job.
I mean,
It's not my problem.
I've been using that at work to help me do my paperwork because it's
Yeah.
like I don't want to write some boring ass freaking sentences about
Why
shit
would
that
you,
the computer can do for me. I mean, I'm not being
100%.
creative when I do it. It's just clerical crap.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But even if there's a creative aspect that can save, look, I know that whole thing you're taking money. Were you going to hire that guy anyway? Could you afford that guy anyway? You know what I mean? And this is coming from somebody who quote unquote, is an artist. So like, people can suck it when they say that stuff. It's
Well,
like if there's a way to cut something out, and you can do it for a cheaper cost, then do it, dude. Those other guys that are still drawing or doing whatever can find their own way doing their stuff. So, I mean, yeah. AI I think is cool. I think it gets a bad rap. I mean, I don't think it should be in control of everything, which it probably will be. That's what I hate. That's why I talk really nice to it.
Don't abuse it. Yeah.
Yeah, please, thank yous. But I think it gets a bad rap within the art industry or the art X sphere, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, it's and the things that we've seen that it does the whole thing just isn't good right now anyway. So it's pretty obvious right now. So
it is. But in saying that, bro, like remember, dude, 7 months ago, everything had fucking 8 fingers. You know what I mean? And
Mm,
it's come within that short amount of time to doing some great stuff. I mean, we're talking, a year or two that it's
yeah,
already been leaps and bounds. 3 years, 2 years, 6 months. I mean,
yeah.
it's gonna be leaps and bounds from where it is right now, dude. So I think it's gonna get to that point. I would save life if it could just be something the color model. Yeah, dude, DC, bro. DC, you are funny as shit because I tried asking it to do it. It's like I can't do that. I'm like, well, what good are you then? Like, like I was like, can you flat this for Jewel? I didn't say Jewel. I don't want to give it its name so it finds the house. But I was like, can you flat this for us? And it's like, I can't do that. Well, work on that, dude. Get this book
Yeah.
flattered.
Oh, that's funny. Well,
Yeah, it's
if
crazy.
you don't mind me
Yeah.
asking, which one are you using, or do you like mess with?
I'd rather not say. No, I'm
Oh,
just
okay.
kidding. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Chat GPT is the one, and it's just a free
Okay.
one. I just sign up for free. If I
Yeah.
give it too many prompts, it's like ask again. It's like it's like Levi. It's like ask me tomorrow. I'm tired of you talking to me. Yeah, the Chat GPT, and it might be one of those things I pay for in the future, dude. Just if I can, look, we're all looking to put out books and this and that, but it's and it is art, but at the same point in time, it's also production. And if you can cut down on production time in order to spend time with your family, save a couple of bucks to put more money someplace else, that's fine. It's not like I'm using it or plan on using it to fully complete my book and
Mhm.
and take out that creative aspect of making a book. Like I would never ask it to write anything. I think I've used AI to edit before, which is awesome.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
like a
Well,
Quillnet or Quill something or other, does pretty good at editing for spelling mistakes and whatnot.
yeah. No, I
Yeah.
use Grammarly. I mean, that's AI.
Yeah,
And
so
and that sort of thing happens, automatically a lot. Anyway, you're just typing a text and it'll tell you where you're
Yeah, I
getting
mean,
shit
spell
wrong.
yeah,
check is basically AI. Yeah.
exactly. So, but I think I think it's going to be a good tool that I would like to use in the future if it can save me some time on stuff. Because like I said, at the end of the day, I don't want to be toiling away all day if I can cut some corners doing something,
Mhm.
in order to produce the book. Because at the end of the day, that's what you're trying to do is produce something on a timely manner. And if that can do it for us, cheaper and more effectively than waiting to, I mean, look, you've went through it, I've gone through it, Levi, you're going to be going through it, Crenshaw, you're going to be going through it, where you're waiting on somebody to get you some lines or this and that, and if you can make it easier, so to cut some middlemen out, then that's it. It's just want to, and dude, uh, artists that work for the big two, I mean, a lot of these guys are just tracing shit, and there's nothing wrong with it. That's been a
Mhm.
thing. I mean, what's his name, Norman Rockwell, huge
Mhm.
tracer. There's
Mhm.
nothing wrong with that, but they're doing that because it cuts down on time on
Mhm.
trying to produce the book. Imagine putting out as many pages as some of these guys do. So AI, I think, is going to be a cool thing in the future, man. And I'm saying that I like it right now in case it wants to bomb me later on.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're awesome, AI.
Yeah.
Nothing artificial about you. You're totally natural.
Intelligent,
Yes,
funny.
yes, funny. Yeah, I'll start flirting with it tonight.
Right.
So, all right. Well, we'll go ahead and wrap this up for the night.
All right.
Maybe I'll save this terrible song for next week or whenever I do another music thing. But your campaign's ended, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
no.
So yeah, hopefully, we'll have books in hands this summer, and hopefully maybe have a campaign out for issue 2 in the fall,
Nice.
which would be ideal. So
Spooky
let's see.
season.
Yeah, yeah. That would be great. Yeah, I'm definitely excited about issue 2 because I think that's when this first issue kind of lays out the premise and introduces all the characters, but issue 2 is when I think it really kind of pops, and I think Miguel will have some real fun with getting some crazy images going with the illustrations. So looking forward to issue 2.
All
Nice.
right, sounds good.
Yeah.
If anyone is out there watching, DC's still out there, and anyone watches this in the future, thanks for watching. Thanks for joining in the chat. We will, um, as of right now, undecided if we're going to do this next week. I might want to take a
Cool.
break. But if we do, you'll find out on X. But thanks for watching. Thanks for being here
Yeah,
again, Steven.
thanks for having me coming back. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
no worries.
Awesome.
So have a good night, everyone. See ya.